For me, true success is not making money, although it's nice. For me, true success is living by the values of your heart. And when you're able to do that, then you live an amazing life.
Welcome to Evolve Leadership, the arena where high-achieving leaders are challenged to redefine their limits. My name is Angus Nelson. I grew up in the United States and I now live in Lisbon, Portugal. I'm an executive coach and I've spent my career advising and training leaders from startups to Fortune 500 companies. And here's what I've learned. An old, ineffective leadership framework will always keep you on a hamster wheel, consumed with work-life balance, burnout, and stress. Here on the show, each week we'll help you rethink the path to achievement. We'll help you discover new principles, new philosophies to the modern leader. Look, the world is relentlessly changing, demanding a new era of leaders. It's time to redefine your limits. So enter the arena, my friend. It's time to evolve. Well, hello there. Welcome to the Evolve Leadership Show. I'm your host, Angus Nelson. I'm really ecstatic to have you here with us today. Thank you for taking some time to invest in yourself to listen to the show. Today, we're going to dive into a conversation that I had with another coach who does what I do, just does it in a different way. And it's always a treat for me to kind of get somebody else's perspective, and I think you'll appreciate it as well. She's known as a human potential expert, and she is the creator of the Heart Freedom Method. She's an author of a number of books. One in particular is coming out this year. It's called Unstuck. She wrote it with Jack Canfield, who is also writer of Chicken Soup for the Soul. You may recognize that title. And she has her own podcast called Soul Worthy Love. My guest today, her name is Dr. Lise Janelle. Let's jump into that interview right now. Well, hello, Lise. It is great to talk to you from across the pond. You're up in Canada. I'm in Portugal. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Angus, for having me. Beautiful Portugal, beautiful people. Lucky you.
You can come anytime you want. Come and visit. Perhaps we grab a coffee and a pastel de nata. It'll be amazing.
Oh, yeah, those are good.
They're delicious. If you don't know what we're talking about, you're missing out. Well, Lise, thanks again for coming to share your expertise. But before we jump into some of the depth of, your knowledge and your perspectives, I really want to dive in first. Like, where did it all begin? You grew up in Canada. Tell us more.
Yes, as a little kid, you would have told me that I would be doing this one day. I would have thought you were crazy. Like, I didn't speak English at all. I remember being a little kid with my sister and going blah, 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 thinking we were speaking English. And I believe that within each and every one of us, there's a purpose. There's something we should be accomplishing in our life. And the key is in being in tune with our heart, and it guides us to different places. So, like, I had one of my colleagues, my colleagues at university where I was studying pre-meds, and he says to me, Lise, I'm going to Montreal to see if I can be accepted in chiropractic college. Why don't you come? It's one of those professions of the future. And I went, and I was seeing a chiropractor, and it was really helping me. And I thought, wow, yeah. Just like that. It's like, that's why I love asking questions, because I know the power of asking questions. There's immense power in asking the right question. So I became a chiropractor, and in 1988, my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He was given 9 months to live. That was 3 weeks before my sister's wedding. A week after my sister's wedding, my 21-year-old brother died in a car accident. And then within a month of all this, my 8-year relationship to the man I thought I was going to marry ended. And it was like, ow, ow, ow. So to survive that pain, I wanted to question, understand, how do you live life? Because it's not if these things are going to happen. And I use this all the time. So I'm going to use my props. I always use the yin and the yang. So in life, it's not if these things are going to happen, these challenges are going to happen, it's when they happen, how do you deal with them? So that instead of being afraid of having challenges, we can learn to use them to our advantage. And I've asked this to thousands of people because I do public speaking and I also, teach courses. I say, raise your hand if you've never had huge challenges happen to you in your life. And out of 1,000 right now, there's only one, and it was a young girl, and she said, me, and I'm scared because I don't know what's going to happen when I face a challenge. So because of that, I ended up meeting by coincidence the same year in 1989 a chiropractor named Scott Walker. And Scott Walker created a method called neuro-emotional technique, and it's amazing. It's mind-body work. It's leading-edge mind-body work. It's even taught now at the University in Pennsylvania because Dan Monty is a psychiatrist. He studied NET with Scott, and now they're teaching at the university over there. So I ended up learning a lot about mind-body connection that way. In the same year, I met another chiropractor, John DeMartini, who teaches basically the power of gratitude. And through doing this work together, I ended up, creating a blend of both. So that's what makes the Heart Freedom Method that I created a really powerful tool, because it allows me to find a moment when somebody created a belief that's now working against them without even being aware of it. People don't know, but up to 95% of what we're doing with our awareness. We're just pre-programmed, thinking sure. We're running the show, when it's the subconscious mind that's there to keep us alive.
No, Lise, like I am in total control. I'm not impulsive at all. I'm absolutely fully doing everything consciously.
Exactly.
Whatever. Go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
So that's how I came about doing this. So in 1989, when I took the seminar with John DeMartini, it's a powerful seminar that I now teach. I call it Extreme Freedom. It's a version of John's work. But I wrote down a mission statement for my life on the Sunday, because I find it's super important. Each and every one of us, we need to know, who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? Because if you don't know, you end up doing what other people want you to do. So I wrote my whole statement of purpose for my life, and the career statement said that I was going to help to optimize the lives of millions of people through reconnecting them with their hearts. So since 1989, every day of my life has been dedicated to finding a way I was going to do this. And that's how I ended up creating the Heart Freedom Method, because in 2004, I stopped being a chiropractor because I felt called to do this. And it was hard because I loved being a chiropractor. I was really good at it. I had a great reputation. I worked like 25 hours a week. I took 12, 13 weeks off a year. My patient loved me. Like, it was the cat's meow. But I had this calling inside of me that made me leave it and start being a coach. So I started having clients in Madrid. I remember I was this client in Madrid. He was a chiropractor in Madrid, and I was coaching him, and I'm going, this is frustrating. I need to do NET with him. But to do NET, you need to do muscle testing. But I couldn't do muscle testing, over the phone back then. We didn't even have Zoom. And so necessity is the mother of all invention. And that's how I ended up creating the Heart Freedom Method, which is an easy 10-step method that I even have. One of my coaches that I've trained, she has a 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old does it on herself.
That's awesome. All right. So now we have some backstory here. I want to jump into one piece that I heard you talk about, this consciousness, right? We're doing everything that we do, and we think that we're doing it consciously. But ultimately, we know, you and I, that so much of what we do is based on rhythms and stories and beliefs and habits that we've attached ourselves to in either a form of identity or a subconscious training and indoctrination, basically. Can you kind of unpack that a little bit? Like, what's your perspective of why or how we are seeing some of these things actually control our reality?
Yes. And I think I'd like to give, and I'll expand on it. I'd like to give the listener an experience right now, if you want to experience what a conditioned response is, which is what happens when we live life. So if you're not driving right now, pay attention to what I'm saying. I want you to imagine I have a nice big lemon in my hands. It's very juicy. And I cut this lemon in half, and it's squirting juice. And really smells really good, this juice. And I take that one half of a lemon, and again, I cut it in half. And it's squirting. You can smell it. Mm-mm. And then I take this quarter of a lemon and I ask you to bite into it. So bite into the lemon right now. Are you salivating? I'm telling you the story and I know it's coming and I'm already salivating. So a lot of people, when they hear that story, if you were fully present and you feel it at the back of your mouth right now, you're salivating, it's perking inside, there's no lemon in front of you, but you're still having a conditioned response. So you don't need to have a specific event happening for it to come back and start ruling you. I'll give you an example. I had an Olympic level skier. She came to see me because she had not placed in 2 years. And if you're a Canadian Olympic skier, you make no money. It's all for glory. So you have no social life, no love life. You train like crazy in the hope that you're going to win. So can you imagine? Olympic level skier, I test her on, I want to win. And subconsciously, she didn't want to win. Why? Because, and we found, doing the work, we ended up, she was 7 years old. She was already winning a lot, but her brothers were not. So her mom would hide her medals and her trophies not to upset her siblings. So now, as an Olympic level skier, your teammates, they feel like siblings. Even your competitors sometimes feel like siblings. So the Pavlovian bell was ringing, and at these moments where it's important, you just carve a little bit too hard and not hard enough, and then you lose a fraction of a second, and then you don't make it on the podium. So anyway, I did the work that I do with her, and she ended up on the podium right after. So how does that work? Is because our conscious mind that wants something, relatively speaking, is the size of a football. And our subconscious mind that's not there to sabotage us, but it's there to keep us alive. Without the subconscious mind constantly associating pleasure or pain to things that are happening around us, most of us would have had a hard time still being alive today. So when the subconscious mind has associated more pain than pleasure, more danger than safety to something we want consciously, like it doesn't let us have it. So imagine the football field. And it is so fun for me to work with, like, especially with driven people who want to live great lives, because they're so frustrated because they do everything right, but somehow there's always something that seems to happen. And when you find a block, and it takes 10, 15 minutes, it's so amazing how it just opens up, a new reality. Because what you do then is you align your higher self, your mind, your heart, and your emotions, and now you become laser focused. I love working with high-level athletes, entrepreneurs, like high-level people, that even parents who don't want to bring their stuff back into their kids. Like I work with Hollywood actors. Like I love working with people who are driven to make a great life happen for them. And it's so much fun.
And this element of this conscious, subconscious, because I don't care who you are. I've worked with $100 million, founders. I've got a unicorn CTO. Like, you think that once people attain or arrive at a certain place, that this is not an issue of self-doubt. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve. I don't have what it takes. Like, these are real voices in people's heads. And it doesn't matter if you've had success. In fact, I would dare say that some people who have easy success or quick success actually suffer from some of these subconscious saboteurs, if you will, even more, because it's almost like we think I have to have confidence before I can do a thing.
Yes.
And yet the reality is confidence actually doesn't really come until you're in the middle of doing the thing. Because confidence is more about yourself than it is about the thing.
I find, like, once I was a keynote speaker at a coaching conference in Chicago, and there were 350 coaches from all around the world. And I offered them at the end, I said, if you want, I'm going to test you on I'm ready, willing, and able to be successful. Coaches should be about, being successful. And I had at least 100 coaches lined up for me to test them. And out of them, only one coach was congruent with wanting to be successful. All the other ones had associated being successful with being alone. I'm going to leave my friends, my family behind. Some people will be jealous of me. I will be disliked. And, we are social animals. So at the safety level, you don't want to be isolated and be alone. And I find even, this is a very interesting one, I find often, especially for men, but also for women, that there's a ceiling that you can, so even if somebody, let's say you make $10 million a year, but you might have the potential to make 100 million. Because if within inside of you, there's a belief that it's not cool to be more successful financially than your father, then you're going to hold yourself back. So it's always relatives. There's always another place where we can go with people. And it's not only about money. It's like some people believe that if they have a great career and money, they cannot have love, or they cannot exercise. Like, for me, true success is not making money, although it's nice. For me, true success is living by the values of your heart. And when you're able to do that, then you live an amazing life.
Before we continue, I want to acknowledge something important. By listening to this show, you are taking a step that many leaders are frankly unwilling to do, and that is invest in yourself. And to honor your commitment, we want to invest in you. Our research shows that elite leaders excel in 6 core areas, and we've developed a quick 2-minute assessment to help you highlight your strengths, uncover your blind spots, and see how you stack up against other top leaders. You'll get a personalized report that pinpoints the areas you can address to evolve into that next level leader. So, to see where your leadership stands, go to rankmyleadership.com. Now, back to the show.
So I was just talking to one of my clients just recently, and they were sharing how one of the things that they were wrestling with is exactly what you said. How can I make more money than my dad? How can I be more successful than my brother? How can I, like, these are really common, and they're just these most twisted, ridiculous things. We're like, how can that possibly be something in my head? And yet these are the stories that we tell ourselves. And in working with my clients, I'm sure you have the same. It's like something happened, you placed a meaning upon it, told yourself a story about this thing, and then that story became a belief. And now this belief rules my life. It's driving my behaviors. It's driving my actions. It's causing me to like sabotage opportunities. It's causing me to sabotage relationships simply because I haven't acknowledged or understood that what I'm believing was something I made up.
Yes, exactly. We're on the same the same page. That's for sure. It's a big aha moment when people realize that Wow. And it's good for people because there's, it's not because I'm unlucky in life. It's not because I'm not supposed to have what I want in life. It's just a programming that's stuck in my physiology, in my subconscious mind that's ruling me. And when I let it go, I feel different. So it's really cool. That's why I love doing. I do my work because I love when I see the sparkles in people's eyes when they really get that. There's a new possibility now that's opening up for me.
When you talk about like the obstacles, that get in our way, like this is obviously one of them, is these limiting beliefs, these stories we tell ourselves. What other obstacles stand in our way?
Well, for me, the way I do this is like, it's super important for people to create goals that come from their heart, not from their heads. Because a lot of people are driven by what their parents want for them, their first girlfriend wanted for them, or what their culture or their church or wherever it's coming from is telling them is going to make them happy. So people are often doing these things just because they never spent any time actually sitting with themselves and going inside and realizing, what is it I want? And I believe that it's not selfish to take the time to do this. Because if you, Angus, for example, you bringing the best out of yourself, I'm benefiting right now because you're successful, because you're doing this, because you're bringing your work into the world, like you have an energy. I can feel your energy. It's beautiful, powerful energy. It's clean. I really love your energy. But because you're doing this, you're influencing your family, you're influencing your clients, you're influencing me right now, you're influencing everybody on the podcast that's listening to you. So it's not a selfish thing to say, all right, what are my assets? Like, what is the best way to bring the best out of myself? Because I think if you're a loving, conscious parent, if you look at your baby and you look at your baby and you say, how am I going to bring the best out of this baby? Not for what I want, but for what is best for that baby. And when you watch your child unfold their potential, like, it's such a joy and everybody benefits from it. So at our age, it's nobody's job to look at us and go, this is what you need to do. It's like, this is why we need to spend time asking ourselves, what is it I want from my heart? Not from my head, not because it's a good idea, not from my guts, because that's an emotion I have, but from my heart. And the power is coming from the heart.
I remember reading one of your quotes, which you said, and it's not even just what you want, it's also what you believe, which ties those two together. It's like, not only do you have a quest for, this is the thing that I'm very clear on what I want, but I actually believe that I'm worthy, deserving, capable of achieving it.
I'll share a personal story because I'm still flabbergasted by it. All right. So in October, I went to San Diego. I spent 3 days with my coach and like really focusing on creating, my next journey from my coaching, because I got this book coming out with Jack Canfield this year about my method, and I need to put in place, a team and all that. And I'm all excited. And the holidays happen and I have a grand old time, like fun with family and friends, go skiing in Quebec. It was fantastic. January 3 comes, I'm ready to rock and roll. And then I get so sick. I got sick as a dog. Like for like a week, I was not computing. I was not online. And then like 3 weeks later, I was still not feeling like myself. And I'm usually someone with high energy. So I'm going, Lise, it's not a coincidence. You're ready to make a quantum jump, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, you get sick. So I did the heart freedom method. I'm in my hot tub at my cottage. I go, okay, Lise, go for it. So then, because of it, I was able to go deep, really deep inside of me. And then I got in touch with the reason. When I was 5 years old, I was trying so hard to be a good little girl for my mom and a good big sister, but no matter how much I wanted to, I couldn't make my mom happy. So now I created a belief nobody sees how good I am, and I won't be able to make people happy. So here I am trying to do the same thing like a much bigger quantum. And so even though I've been driven every day of my life since 1989 with my consciousness, with what I wanted, subconsciously, I didn't believe I could do it. So when you push forward with your consciousness and your subconscious mind, which is the football field, is not on par, it drains your energy. And that's why I got so sick. I know that's why, because it was draining me. But I did the work, and within 10 minutes, the whole thing was like lifted, and I was like, ah. And it's like I took a cork that was, keeping the genie inside the bottle. And I took the cork out, and the genie is able to come out. And I've been doing this work since 1989. So I'm sharing this story because even though you're driven, even though I've obviously made things happen, whenever you hit a quantum in your growth, you will hit something that you'll remember. That's why this is another message I'm really passionate about. Is like, when you face a challenge, it's not because something is wrong with you. When you face a challenge, there's only two reasons why you face a challenge. One, it's because you need to master something, because obviously, if you mastered it, it wouldn't be a challenge. And or number two, it's sending you in a direction that you either know you need to go, but you're kicking and screaming, not wanting to do it because, oh man, it means having to leave my cushy job or move myself from the US to Portugal. Like, all these things can happen, Or sometimes we have no clue. Like when I told you, when my father, cancer, my brother and all that, I had no idea, but I just trusted, and I kept learning and moving from it. So when you face a challenge, always remember, these things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. That's why it's super important that you know your purpose, why you're here, because otherwise it looks so random, you cannot decipher what it is you're supposed to learn from the challenge you're facing. But once you know where you're going, it becomes a lot more evident what needs to happen.
I feel this on so many levels this last year. And you listeners, some of you have heard me tell this story about, 2023 was a hard year for us, where start off the year financially, we were on trajectory to do as good as we'd ever done, even before February was over. Like we're just starting the year, and we're going to crush it. And then March hit, and the economy kind of went sideways, and everything went sideways with it. We lost a number of clients. Everybody decided, they were going to hunker down and what have you. And I recognize not right away, it took me some time to figure it out. Like, I had a self-worth that was attached to the money. And when the money wasn't, available, I shut down emotionally. And for anyone that knows me, I'm an extrovert, and I'm out and about. I love to meet people for coffee or a cocktail. And suddenly I'm like a bit of a recluse in some form. Didn't want to hang out with my buddies because I didn't want to have to tell them my stuff. I didn't want to, complain or, be the person to bring down the party. And all of that was a decoupling of my self-worth from money. All of it was a lesson learned in context of who is the client that I'm going to help with this exact same lesson in the future. And thirdly, it's like, what's the very thing that this experience is shaping in me so that I'm capable of doing something else? And we went from a focus of just being Evolve Men was our old brand, and we shifted to Evolve Leadership so we could serve women as well. It enabled us to be able to go into companies and teams, to work in corporations, to be able to work with multiple people all in one movement. Like, that would have never happened had we not gone through that, because there were opportunities that either I was unwilling or unknowing were available. And suddenly when that thing happens, it's like, these are the shifts. These are what's possible. This is what will happen if you allow it, if you're open to it, if you'll be teachable.
And if you resist it, then you're deep doo-doo.
Oh, God. Yeah. Then around the mountain we go again.
Yeah, that's a perfect story. That's a great story. Exactly that.
For you, you said, sitting down with your coach, and obviously, anyone who's worth their salt, we need someone outside ourselves to call us on our stuff. There's an old postcard I read once. It said, we all need someone outside our jar to read the label.
I've never heard that one. Huh? Cool. That's a good one.
Yeah. And for me, for those of you that you've heard me, Dan Martell's one of my coaches. And one of the things he said last night in our mastermind was, he said, are you building a world-class company? And I just felt something inside go shift. I'm like, there's all of us, we have this sense in us, like we can play at a certain level, but I don't know if I can play in this other level. And we have to give ourselves permission to go pro. Give yourself permission to elevate. Where do you want to go? By the way, when you're saying what do you want, I call that the Spice Girl principle. The song, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Good 90s tune right there. But to the same degree, it's not just what you want, but as your word stated, what do you believe about what you want? Do you believe that you can create, that you can shape? And then furthermore, who must you become? Who must you be in order to attain or to achieve that thing? And that's when the transformation comes. What about for you?
Yeah, I find that, and that's what I love doing with my clients, we need to get out of our comfort zone, because every time we get out of our comfort zone, we hit our inner resistance, our beliefs about ourselves. And as we keep moving anyway and get rid of the subconscious beliefs that are there, then we just feel more and more in line with our purest self, like our essence, why we're here. It's like, I believe that each and every one of us, we have this mission that we're here. Like, I'm going to give you the cheat sheet. I believe that our purpose in life is to bring the best out of ourselves so we can inspire others to do the same. All right. But each and every one of us, we have different ways of doing this. And from working with thousands of people, literally thousands of people one-on-one, I created this map, and I call that the spiritual human evolutionary map. And I find there are two stages to human development. The first stage is the unconscious, asleep, infantile stage. Everybody gets through that one. The second one is the conscious, awake, and mature stage. The first one, I call it the boot camp. The second one, I call it creating heaven on earth. And the difference between stage one and stage two is that in stage one, we get a sense of self from the way the world reacts to us. So when the world reacts to us in a way we like, I'm king and queen of the world, I can do anything. But when it doesn't react to us the way we want it, then we're in trouble. And so we are born, and a lot of us, we were born, and right from the get-go, the nurse took you away in the nursery, and you're crying, mommy, mommy, come and get me, because you're scared, because you've never been outside of her, and nobody comes. So now you're creating two stories. The first story is, what's wrong with me? Because if I was lovable, my mom would be coming. The second thing that happens, which is traumatic, is it hurts so much to ask for what I want. I'm going to stop asking. So there we go. We start this. A lot of us started this right from the get-go. And then we grow up a bit more, and mom has the audacity to have another baby. What's wrong with me? Now, not the attention is not all on me. It's on the baby. Mommy's cranky sometimes when I want her attention when she's with the baby. And now more stories. And then you go to school and you have a best friend, but that day he doesn't want to talk to you because there's another kid who's got a better toy than your toy. Now you start associating toys with friends. So I want the bigger toy so I can have the most friends. And then you grow up and you're a teenager and you have your first crush. That's a good word in English. Like you get your crush and then you get crushed. Like how many people end up with their high school sweetheart? So now we constantly go through life in stage one, trying to compensate for how inadequate we are and we feel by trying to manipulate the outside world to tell us we are great. And that's another metaphor I created for stage one is I find there are three types of boot camps. Some of us were born into the musical boot camp. Life is easy, not many challenges. The problem when you graduate from the musical boot camp is you're not equipped for life. So now you have a hard time. Life is not so sweet to you. Then some people are born into an athletic boot camp. The athletic boot camp is pretty good. You get supported and challenged. You still develop stories, but you're stronger. And then you have the Navy SEAL boot camp. And if you survive Hell Week, you're a superhero. So Navy SEAL boot camp, usually people who listen to this type of podcast like we are speaking on right now, usually you're graduates of 2 and 3. The only problem with 3 is that you are a superhero, but because it was so tough, we really have to go and dig in and let go of the story that something must have been wrong with us to have this, because that's what, it's a driver. Stage 1 is an important driver for all of us. I believe it's divinely designed just for us. We've been supported and challenged exactly as we needed to, so we could unfold our personality, the interests that we have, the people that we have in our life, and it all works pretty good until one day, and that's usually probably the same thing with you. We get clients where, either they lose their career, they lose their family, they lose their money, they lose their health, something happens, or they just feel like I've been trying to make myself happy and it's just not working. So most people come see a coach when things are not going so well. And then some of them are lucky enough to listen to your podcast and they get inspired and they go, all right, I'm ready to jump from stage 1 to stage 2. So in stage 2, what we do is the yin is the female principle of listening to the heart, and the yang is the male principle of acting on the heart. And your heart wants you to know 2 things. First, you're worthy of love. Second, admit your dreams and aspiration, which is the 2 things that often we let go of when we're babies. So it wants us to know these things, and then it's about organizing our time to give our heart what it wants. So it's a very good visual for what it represents to be truly successful. Because you'll never feel like I've been to one of the biggest Hollywood stars that people know down in New York City. And like they have millions of fans, they have a private jet, they have the chef, they have wranglers to play with their kids. Like they have everything that should make them feel successful. You can have all of this, and if you're not connected in your heart, you don't feel happy. So a conscious life is one where, that's why all my work is about removing the stories so we can express our purest essence. And for me, love is not an emotion. Love is our essence. It's who we are. So the good news is we all have access to it. And the only thing that lives in the heart is love, gratitude, inspiration, and wisdom. These are state of beings that when we are there, we feel inner peace, we feel grateful. It's really heaven on earth when you're there. So we have the choice between hell on earth, the boot camp, and getting stuck there. My coach, Mike Cunnings, quoted me saying, like, the cycle of insanity. So stage one, trying to get your sense of self from manipulating the people around you to make you feel you're great. That's an unwinnable game. Or you start consciously creating your stage two from a place of inspiration. And if you look at the word inspiration, in means within. Ation is a condition of spirit. So when you come from your heart, this is how you can feel really successful and powerful, benefiting from the boot camp. So if you had a Navy SEAL boot camp, the good news is you're equipped to have an amazing ride. You can really make it happen. You just need to let go of the story, the beliefs, the subconscious belief that you're not aware are ruling you, that are getting in the way of your full success.
Hear that, y'all? That's so good, so good. And for those of you that maybe that felt a little deep and that went too far too fast, stick around because we uncover more and more. This is your first time listening. Welcome to the deep end. And this is the most transformational stuff. Lise, thank you so much for sharing and taking us into your world. And I know it to be true that when we get to that place of congruence, where when you believe that you are worthy, that you deserve, and that you matter, then we start operating from a different context where it's not about people pleasing, it's not about performing, it's not seeking validation, but rather fully expressing a wholeness of ourselves, where we do these things simply because it's who we are. Because we do these things because we have nothing to gain, nothing to prove, nothing to lose. That's when we're truly our own. That's the most powerful person in the room. And everyone wants to be around that person because they're standing in quiet confidence. And Lisa, I think you gave us another clue on how to achieve this. So thank you so much for being with us.
You expressed this beautifully. Thank you. I want that sound bite. I want to listen to it again.
For all you listening at home, pay attention. We got more to come. If you need anything, holla. We're here for you. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
As we wrap up another episode of Evolve Leadership, thank you so much for taking time to invest in you. If there's to be any sustainable growth in your company or even in your relationships, you must grow first. And it's what I love to do for leaders, to help them grow, to challenge their thinking, sharpen self-awareness, to instill an unshakable confidence, and ultimately upgrade their sense of self. And we do this through our proprietary method called Agile EQ Plus, where we're leveraging agile leadership and emotional intelligence. We provide our signature training for individuals, and for businesses, we've designed a unique curriculum for company-wide learning and development. If you'd like to learn more about our training or to schedule a call, you can simply go to evolveleadership.org. And until next time, stay driven, keep climbing, and never stop evolving.